Georgia. With Antonio Jones.
All right. It is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. You're live inside of War Room, Georgia, and I'm your host, Antonio Jones. I'm going through some headlines today. We got some great guests lined up just for you. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to try to get to everything today. We got 4 great guests. We've got Sheriff Mack. We got the great Roy Hambrick, Holly Terei, hometown hero right here in Georgia, doing some great work. And we also got Cathy Laytham that we're going to have today. She got rolled up in the Georgia electors case. So she hadn't done a bunch of interviews, and we have been speaking offline, and I've been trying to set up to have her on here so we can go through the whole thing. That will be second hour. All right, so this is what we're going to do right now. We're going to cover some headlines, but first, let's talk about where we are right now. Trump administration in doing some great things. The border is shut down. Everybody knows that. But we got to get on top of these mass deportations, and we got to get the DOJ going. I came out early, pointed out that I had zero confidence in Pam Bundy, and guess what? I got hammered, especially on Facebook. You know, being called black-pilled, all kinds of things. I was called a Democrat. But, you know, after you've been around people long enough, you start to kind of pick up off of vibes and people's mannerisms and their demeanor. And I just, from the beginning, I said something's not right about this particular pick. And I kind of jumped out there, went on a limb, and boy, did I get hammered. So we've got to get this DOJ prosecuted. I personally think Bundy, she needs to go. Trump needs to fire her is my opinion here. And so we can move on, because we are getting the clock run out on us. And also, if we don't get high level prosecutions, what kind of message does that send to the people on the state level who participated in this 2020 election theft, especially right here in the state of Georgia? And that's why our second hour guest, Cathy Laytham, is so important to have her on here so that she can go through chapter and verse what happened during the 2020 election. Can't wait to get to that part. All right, so let's talk about this right here. What is the holy grail when it comes to politics? And guys, we are far past the Democrat and Republican politics. I know a lot of people that keep up with this show. You guys understand that. It's not red and blue jersey anymore. It's we the people versus the establishment uniparty globalist. This is good versus evil. You know, we the people, the grassroots. But what they're after is the highest value for them is your tax dollar, our tax money, and cheap labor. So, you know, the Democrats want the votes. The Republicans, they like the cheap labor and everything like that. We are a Republican-run state here in the state of Georgia. Have you guys really heard about this administration here in the state of Georgia, the leadership in Georgia, really being involved on expelling illegals? We hadn't really heard it. I mean, just go around to some of the construction sites and see what's going on. You know, you mean to tell me that a majority of the construction workers are not of American descent? And I'm not saying that all of them here are here illegally. And that's why we got to deal with the H-1B, the immigration, the situation. And I just think it needs to be a stop put on it. But they are after the tax dollar. They want to leverage the deals for the corporations. That's just the way it is. And if you got rid of, if they didn't have access to manipulate the taxpayers' money, you couldn't get half of these guys to run for office. I mean, the whole place would just empty itself out. But that's what it all comes down to. So let me burn through these headlines, because like I said, I want to get to all of the guests and get them plenty of time that we have today. So let me get through these headlines. So Pam Bundy's DOJ has no plans to arrest Anthony Fauci after receiving criminal referrals from Rand Paul. Rand Paul says he has damning evidence from RFK on Anthony Fauci, which he has repeatedly sent to Trump's attorney general. But the Trump DOJ is ignoring it and refusing to investigate Fauci. Why is he being protected? General Flynn said this. He said the Clintons are blowing off Congress. It illustrates that they hold so much information on judges, Congress, business executives, and world leaders. This is the globalist uniparty we speak about. Rep. James Comer, he says Hillary Clinton did not appear today for her scheduled deposition. She is defining a bipartisan legal subpoena. These subpoenas issued to the Clintons are not suggestions. They are legally required to appear. They are not above the law. Contempt proceedings will begin on January the 26th. It's something to keep an eye on. All right, Tom Renz on X said the reason Bondi won't take down the Soros network is because they fund the Republicans too. Let me read something else from him. And this is from Tom Renz on X. He said the Uniparty always wins unless that a Republican has, quote, outdone herself. She said the reality is no one is seeing that what matters in this cycle will be decided in the primaries, and no one is looking at the fraud in the primaries. The dirty truth is Lindsey Graham, Mike Johnson, and the rest of the GOP don't want you to know it's the real reason they refuse to pass election reform is that they commit the same fraud as the Democrats. Certainly not all Republicans, but more than enough to block any real MAGA measures. Everything is about chop blocking the grassroots and stopping Trump. I never trusted Johnson. I put that out there early. I nicknamed him Mike Lion Eyes Johnson. Very, very early. He also went on to say the primaries are key. There is extensive fraud in the primaries. And that's how they ensure your choice is a Democrat or a Democrat pretending to be a Republican. If we want to take our country back, we must first take the GOP back. We failed at that in the state of Georgia this year, unfortunately. That means getting involved at the local level and fighting for real MAGA candidates in the primaries. The NGO RICO machine makes this possible. And it's funded with, guess what? Your tax money. All right, so let me move on, try to get through a few more of these. Politico reported the ACLU drops this lawsuit against the Trump admins over tens of millions in family planning funds withheld from Planned Parenthood and other health clinics after the HHS quietly restored the money. What's going on here? Michigan clerk says 239 illegal aliens were found in his county's jury pool in just 4 months. Guys, we're going to do a few more of these headlines coming up right after this. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. We got some great guests today. We're going to get to everything, all the information. We got a great show planned for you guys. Back in a minute. I'm nationwide.
This is Lisa Neisler.
Well, this is Alex Johnson.
This is Amanda.
Hey, this is Amy Kramer.
And you're here watching War Room
with Antonio Jones.
War Room. The people's voice.
keeping you informed. War Room. The People's Voice. All right, guys, it is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. You're live inside of War Room, Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. And we got a pretty packed show today. So today, during the opener, I kind of talked about what I believe is the holy grail for politicians and these globalists, state, locally, and around the world. And it's basically the tax theft. I call it death by theft, where everything boils down to cheap labor, which is another form of slavery on some levels if you look at it, and the theft of your taxes. Well, how do they do that? They have to cheat in order to be able to steal, and that's why election integrity is so important. I wish that the administration, I know that Trump, is serious about it, but we got to get the Department of Justice dialed in. And I said early on that I didn't think Bundy was it, and I guess a lot of people are seeing it now. I got hammered, and I jumped out there on a limb, and I got hammered. But we have an invasion here in our country. We got north of 20 million people. I say 30 to 40 million illegal aliens. This contributes to the inflation, the cost of things. We got more people chasing after more goods, which is a simple supply and demand factor of why prices also can skyrocket. And we have to get this straightened out, because if we don't have borders, then we don't have a country. We got people wandering in and out. How can we say we're a sovereign nation? So my next guest, get him dialed up, and I wanted to talk to him about the shooting that happened up in Minnesota. It's just like George Floyd 2.0. And so Sheriff Mack, welcome back to the War Room. So we've got an invasion on our hand, and I think everybody knows the border is closed. That's one facet of it, but we got to deal with expelling these illegal aliens. So what can sheriffs do in their capacity? And I want you to, then we'll get to what your thoughts and observations are on the legality of the officer defending himself and others around him. So what should sheriffs be doing right now in this illegal invasion that we have right now in our country?
Well, that's really the $10,000 question, and I've actually discussed this several times with other podcasters and radio shows. Where is Sheriff Luna in Los Angeles? We have all of these riots and crimes going on in Los Angeles, and the chief of police is saying, no, we don't need any help, everything's fine. Mayor Bass is saying, we don't need any help, everything's fine. Governor Newsom, everything's fine, we don't need any help. And where's the sheriff? He's the sheriff of Los Angeles County. The last time I checked, Los Angeles City is in Los Angeles County. He has concurrent jurisdiction with the chief of police. He is elected. The chief of police is a bureaucrat. It is time for Sheriff Luna to step up and take charge of that county and those crimes. He should not be depending on President Trump or the federal government to come in and restore peace and safety to that county. Sheriff O'Donnell in Multnomah County, which is Portland, Oregon, she's doing the same thing. She's doing nothing. She's just letting it go and sitting back and acting like that's not her county. Sheriff Dart in Chicago, what is he doing? You never hear a word about these elected sheriffs that promised in God's name that they would uphold and defend the Constitution and thus protect the God-given rights of the people in that county. So all the sheriffs where this is going on, the only place that really does not have a sheriff is New York City. There is no New York County where there's a county sheriff. There's lots of sheriffs all around New York City, but even the mayor, the outgoing mayor. God, what's his name?
Shoot, if you'd asked me, I could have told you.
It's easy.
Eric.
Yeah.
Eric.
Er-
Forget his last name.
Yeah, Mayor Eric.
Eric Adams. Eric Adams.
Yeah, Adams. Yeah, thank you. But because Mayor Adams just was asked how much money did they spend the last year on illegal aliens, and he said about $9 billion. So in your monologue opening the show, you're absolutely correct. That's just New York. That's just taxpayers in New York City. And now look at Minneapolis and look at Los Angeles and Chicago and all of them, Portland, Seattle. Look at the crimes that these people have been committing. And this was no accident. And these politicians knew this was going on, and at the very most turned a blind eye. And look at the other crimes this is costing us. You're right, 30 to 40 million people who are trying to compete with making a living, and we are having our taxpayer dollars being funneled to terrorists in the Middle East and across the country so that they can continue their dastardly crimes.
Right. So here's a post I've read in the opener from Tom Renz on X. He's an attorney. And this had to do with, I say they cheat in order to steal. You know, that's why they have to manipulate the elections and all. So he said that this is a quote, the dirty truth about, I think this was from Data Republican. This was a retweet from him, but he put his on top of it. He said, the dirty truth about Lindsey Graham, Mike Johnson, and the rest of the GOP that they don't want you to know is the real reason they don't want to pass election reform is because they're committing the same fraud as Democrats. Certainly not all the Republicans, but more than enough to block the measures. And also a part of my opener was the Holy Grail is taxes and cheap labor. You know, that's the illegal invasion that they're getting in, and they want to steal our tax money regularly. So what can the people do? Because I know sheriffs is like an elected office. So I got two questions.
Yes.
Under what circumstance can a governor, if you got a quote unquote supposed to be Republican governor, he's got a rogue sheriff, what can be done? And is at any point a sheriff can arrest a public official?
Well, yeah, they can arrest all the public officials from the state. It's a little bit harder with the federal government because the federal government actually made a law that even if they commit a crime while they're in the execution of their jobs, and I don't know if you remember Ruby Ridge, Idaho, where Bundy's keeps coming to my mind, but Rachel and Sarah and Vicky Weavers and Sam Weaver and all the Weaver family. And because there were murders committed by the federal government there, the local county attorney tried to file criminal charges against them. And so the Weavers were, son was murdered, the wife had her head blown off, and they tried to file criminal charges, and they came back and said, you can't do it because they were just doing their job, even though they committed a crime. It's really difficult to break that federal line of immunity, which allows them just to basically do everything and anything. That's why the IRS can come in and commit so many damn crimes in the states and counties. Same thing with the FBI. The FBI's done it. EPA's done it. USDA's done it. And so we've got to get that changed. And I would say this. The county attorneys and prosecutors in the states need to go after charges on these people regardless. And the only thing that's supposed to happen is that the charge can be removed to federal courts. It can't be dismissed just because they're federal. And so I've maintained this, though. Even if they can't file the charges, they can kick them out. And I've got to tell you, Antonio, I did that when I was sheriff. I kicked out the Army Corps of Engineers and the EPA, and they threatened to arrest the county commissioners and our maintenance people who were just trying to fix a bridge. And these people come in and say, oh, we own this. Oh, we have to do our environmental impact studies, and you can't do any of this. And then the county, because the federal government was taking so long to come up with any type of a decision and environmental impact study, they finally just said, we're going to fix the bridge, the federal government notwithstanding. And so then they threatened to arrest him, and I called them in, and I said, look, I'm not in charge of fixing bridges. But as soon as they said they're going to arrest these people, then I stepped in. I said, you're not arresting anybody. And if you try to arrest somebody, I'm going to arrest you. Now, I don't believe they had the power to do that, so that arrest would have stayed intact.
Yeah.
You know, because they didn't do that in the commission of their jobs. It's not their job to arrest people in my county. They have no police powers. The EPA and Army Corps of Engineers, they have no police powers anywhere in the state of Arizona, anywhere else. So I won that one. And people don't think about this enough. You, the American people, you've got to get a hold of your sheriff. In Atlanta, talk to your sheriff. In Chicago, talk to your sheriff and tell him to wake up and take care of these problems and crimes so that the federal government and Trump don't need to come in there. And they should be helping with ICE. And yes, does the federal government have the authority to come into the states and get illegal aliens out? 2 places in the Constitution. 1, Article 4, Section 4. It says that the United States government shall guarantee to each state a republican form of government and protect them from invasion. So now we have this invasion, just as you alluded to, we have this invasion going crazy, and we've got all of these, still 20 to 30 million illegal aliens here, and we're talking about cartels, we're talking about international terrorists, we're talking about human traffickers, fentanyl dealers. They're still here, folks, and who's defending them that they stay? The Democrats in these cities all across the country that we hear and see in the news. And what are they doing? Oh, these horrible ICE guys, they're breaking the Constitution. What do you want them to do? Read them the Miranda warning? Okay. Federal agents, read the Miranda warning to these people you arrest. What else could they be violating? They are upholding the law. These people are crooks. We're dealing with murderers, human traffickers, and international terrorists, gangs from Tren de Aragua from Venezuela. And this is the greatest election fraud I have ever seen in my life and that you have ever seen. They're here to get on the voter roll.
To add insult to injury, they actually had a ICE protest up in Athens, Georgia, the area where Laken Riley lost her life.
Yeah, why don't we ever hear Democrats talk about that?
All right, we're going to talk more about the ICE shooting right after this break. You guys stick around.
Hey guys, Rich Geary here from Geary Farms. Here at Geary Farms, we believe in raising our beef the right way, naturally and sustainably. Our cattle roam freely on nutrition-rich pastures, enjoying a diet that's as pure as the land that they graze on. We treat our animals with care and respect, ensuring they live stress-free lives. It's our commitment to quality and transparency from our farm to your table. Thanks.
Accelerate your business goals and brand presence on the World Wide Web by logging on to SafewayHost.store to purchase domain names, web hosting, email hosting, SSL, and more. We have 24/7 customer service and support available to our clients. Get started today so you can achieve your business goals by increasing your web presence. Log on to SafewayHost.store today. That's SafewayHost.store.
Hey everybody, this is Roy Hambrick from Small Town Underground.
This is Colton Moore, and you're watching War Room with Antonio Jones.
Taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
All right, guys, we are back. All right, so guys, we're back. Thank you guys for hanging out and sticking around. Make sure you share this broadcast. And today we're talking about the invasion of our country, the fact that the DOJ needs to act. We are far past just Democrat and Republican politics anymore. This is about the globalists trying to establish a new world order. And it is our job to stand and fight. We have to stand and fight. And it's not up to us to decide what the outcome is going to be. But not standing up right now, fighting and getting involved shouldn't be an option, because that is what we are going to be judged on Judgment Day. Did we fight? Did we stand up? Because we know all of this stuff goes to shambles. According to the word of God, that all of this stuff comes crashing down. But we don't get to decide when that is, how it occurs. We're supposed to get up every single day and put forth an effort to defend our nation, to spread the truth, and share the gospel with people. So let me get Sheriff Mack and back in here. So, Sheriff, we know that the shooting up in Minnesota was it was very bad. I mean, we've got people that have literally lost their minds to think that they can go around and dox ICE agents who are trying to repel this illegal invasion in our country. Right. So I want you to give us your assessment based on what you saw and of that shooting and just where we are with things with that.
Yeah, thank you, Antonio, and it's a pleasure to be with you on your show again. I think you do a great job. You need to go viral, absolutely. I watched it over and over. I watched it from every angle. There was about 8 or 9, maybe 10 officers very close to the vehicle. The lady was very arrogant. She was very disobedient. If she had just followed orders and done what she was supposed to, but she was trying to interfere, that in and of itself is a crime. But it's not a crime that qualifies for lethal force until she hit reverse and then sped forward. And then she did knock into an officer and an agent. At that point, her driving her vehicle like that is assault with a deadly weapon. And that does qualify for lethal force. I will be very honest and frank with you here. In the 20 years I was in law enforcement, I never shot anybody. I came very close 2 or 3 times. And probably one time I should have shot the guy. And I was with one of my deputies. But he had a 10-year-old son standing next to him inside his home at the doorway. He was waving a gun in a meth-induced rage, and he was gone. He went crazy. And my deputy and I had good cover. And so we didn't take the shot. And I didn't tell the deputy not to shoot. That's not my call. You know, he makes that determination for himself. But I just told him, I said, let's be very careful here. I don't want to have to shoot this guy in front of his son. And we finally made enough sense to him. And it took us a while. I mean, we were there half hour, 45 minutes, maybe longer. Finally talked him in to getting rid of the gun, putting the gun down. We came in, secured the gun, arrested him, and took the child to grandparents or aunt or somebody, I can't remember who. But this incident, did she hit did her vehicle hit an ICE agent? Yes. I don't even believe it knocked him down. I don't believe it was a very serious hit. Regardless, it's still assault with a deadly weapon. I would not have taken the shot. I would not have shot her. We had enough people there where we still could have taken her into custody. She's not going anywhere. We have her license. We could still go and get, even if she were able to escape right then, which I doubt, we could still follow up and go and arrest her. Her license plate is very clear. I think they may have even known who she was at the time. I would not have taken the shot. What is he going to be exonerated for taking the shot? Yeah, more than likely. And if I were on the jury, I would say he was within his rights. He was in the lawful protocols of lethal force.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have taken the shot, and I wish he had not. I don't like this type of situation. She caused the situation, no question. And the other people around her egging her on, and the people that got her there, and the Democrats in the area that continue to support the hate speech and the vitriolic rhetoric, these people should be taking more responsibility for it as well.
Right.
This was horrible. This was horrible. And let me tell you, though, I'll tell you who should not have been shot and did not fall within any lethal force protocols was Ashley Babbitt inside the U.S. Capitol when this coward officer, Capitol police officer, shot her. And then afterwards he said, I feared for my life. He had to say that or he committed murder.
Right.
What about her? Did he ever articulate or detail what did she do to make him fearful for his life? And didn't everybody else pose the same threat to him? Walking inside a building? He should have shot everybody then. Instead, he shoots this 115-pound former Marine who clearly had no weapon on her, clearly had no weapon in her hands. So how did she pose a threat? But Democrats completely supported him, and not only that, he was promoted. Now I think he's gone, but I don't care what happened to him. He should have been charged with manslaughter at the very least. So the Democrats don't care. They do not care. Let's be real clear on that. They do not care about people getting killed unless they can make the Republicans or President Trump look bad or promote their agenda.
Yeah, and on top of that, with the ICE officer, he had been, I guess, hit and dragged before that, and then we got the news media that continues to fan the flames.
But you can't take that into consideration then for that time of shooting her. It wasn't her fault that he got dragged by somebody a couple of months ago. So you can understand his being a little bit trigger happy. You can understand it. Right. But it has nothing to do with that situation.
At what point would he consider his life in danger? Did you think that the vehicle?
I'm sure that he considered that, but after he got hit, he knew that the threat was over, and so he's standing up, he's standing there and shoots her right after that. But again, I don't blame him for doing it, and he's going to be exonerated, I'm sure. But I'm just giving you my opinion.
Yeah, I understand.
I would not have taken the shot.
Yeah. Then we I guess we don't know or wouldn't know because she's died if she would have proceeded. I mean, she hit him and he kind of got bumped off or whatever. Maybe she would have ran over another guy. But dangerous situation. So
she was out of her head and she was completely at fault, no question.
Right. All right. So in closing, what do people need to do right now in the meantime to help make a difference in their area with everything?
Wherever these riots are going on, it's always peaceful when the Democrats are rioting. And, just like when they reported in Portland when the buildings and cars are burning in the background. This is crazy. Folks, if you're in any of the towns and cities where these riots are going on, call your county sheriff's office. Leave a message. You want this stopped, and you want the local sheriff to help keep the peace and help these officers of the federal government, of ICE, remain safe and secure in what they're trying to do. And the idiot sheriff in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, shame on you. Shame on you for threatening to arrest these people who are trying to make our community safer. They shouldn't have to be doing this alone, and local police and sheriff's officers should be helping them. Call your sheriff and get your sheriffs moving on this.
Got it. All right. Thanks, Sheriff Mack. Tell people how to follow you, and I appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, or CSPOA.org. Go to our website. Find us on Facebook. Join us, become a part of this peaceful and effective solution that we have for constitutional sheriffs. Folks, we need you. Be part of the solution.
All right. I appreciate you hanging out with us, Sheriff Mack.
Anytime, Antonio. Thank you, brother.
All right, guys. That was Sheriff Mack giving his points and perspective. Very good advice on what to do to make a change and to make a difference. This is the impacts of, the whole woke ideology that's been spreading across our country. We've got women we got the opposite sex that don't know if they're a man or a woman. We've got people that's wandering around at these protests, just trying to fit in, kind of like the gang culture. A lot of people join gangs and stuff because they're not getting the attention or at home and stuff. So they find a sense of security. And some of these people just outright evil, in my personal opinion. And that's just the flame that they've been attracted to. All right, so let me try to get the next person teed up. We got a few seconds before the break. But again, the Holy Grail is taxes and cheap labor. Everywhere you look, corruption wise in politics, you are going to see those two things, or people trying to get access to it, or people manipulating that particular thing. And that's why the illegal alien invasion is so awful. It's for many reasons, because those same people end up in schools, their kids, we end up paying for their children to go to school, their health insurance and all kinds of things. And there's a benefit. They're subsidizing, stealing our tax money. So let me get Roy in here. We got a few minutes. So Roy, so much going on. We talk a whole lot offline. We got about a minute and a half before the break, but I wanted to start off. You guys, the first day of session in Georgia was Monday. You guys got a jungle primary that's just off the chain in the 14th district. Have you heard anything about the first day of session that you want to touch on before the break?
Yeah, well, Senator Colton Moore was able to get SB 204 over to Brian Kemp's desk. They got it passed out of the Senate. That was a wonderful bill about the ordinances that Savannah had put in that were unconstitutional. That was a big thing. That was actually the first bill of the legislative session, and it's already on the governor's desk. A lot of good people go down. Elise Adams went down and live streamed, and so far I think there's a little more positive vibe this session than last session. At least that's how I'm looking at it. We're focused a lot on taxes, and of course we've got election integrity breaking off.
Yeah, hold on 1 second, Roy. We're gonna let you wrap up when we come back after the break. More from Roy Hambrick, Small Town Underground, right after this break. You guys stick around.
Hey everybody, this is Jerry Paris coming to you on behalf of Small Town Underground. We've produced a petition. This petition is for a full investigation to be completed on 2 parcels of land in Chattooga County, Georgia. It's easy to see through our preliminary investigations that the land was bought using shell companies and possibly using stolen Ponzi scheme money. This land was bought by a Hong Kong-owned CCP-based company called Christian Jing-Shing Association. And it was bought to place a drug rehab center right smack dab in the heart of God-loving rural community in farmland, USA. This is all while the Chinese constantly send tons of fentanyl to our country to kill our kids. If you live in Georgia, stand up and sign the petition.
Go to www.smalltownunderground.com, and there you will find a link that takes you straight to change.org so you can help sign this electronic petition and help us get to the bottom of what's actually going on with this Chinese farmland that has been bought on U.S. soil. Thank you for your support.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you would like to make a contribution, the link is in the description.
War Room. The people's voice.
keeping you informed. War Room. The People's Voice. All right, guys, Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Live inside of War Room, Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. Pretty packed show. We've already had Sheriff Mack. Great conversation about just a bunch of things in general, the invasion itself, what happened up in Minnesota, and just how this illegal invasion is impacting our nation. And we are far past Republican and Democrat politics. This is about the globalists versus freedom. That's what it all boils down to. And sitting on that dinner plate for them is either going to be taxes and or cheap labor, which is mass migrations and all kinds of other things. You wonder why you see all this crazy buildings and think a lot of building going up in different areas. They're just packing apartments in. Well, hey, these 20, 30 million illegal invaders got to have somewhere to go. And guess what? After that, they're going to be in your schools. And guess what? After that, you'll be paying for their health care. After that, you'll be paying for food stamps. After that, you'll be wondering if one of your family members is going to get murdered by an illegal alien or get hit in some drunk driving accident. But the people that are in charge do not care about that. It's our responsibility to care and find a way to vote these people out of office, which is a whole nother problem. Tom Renz, he put up a tweet and he talked about the reason why Lindsey Graham, Johnson, and the rest of them don't want to pass any meaningful election integrity reform is because they themselves are involved or at least benefiting in some kind of way of this death of America by theft. So I want to get Roy Hambrick back in here. I know we kind of jumping around on topics today. They've got a jungle primary going up in the 14th district. Now, the 14th district is where Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned her post, and there are several people running for that position. So, Roy, can you go through why it's important to fill this seat with somebody that's America First for your district here in the state of Georgia?
Sure. I think right now I think 20 people have actually qualified for this jungle primary as of about 30 minutes ago. And in a way, it's a blessing and a curse because I think District 14, we were the district that kind of broke the mold of the establishment stronghold of having their candidate and backing their candidate. And we broke that with Marjorie Taylor Greene several years ago. And so now we have this jungle primary, and we have a lot of people that are stepping up to run. And no doubt it's going to be a little wild and crazy. But, obviously this is a conservative stronghold up in Northwest Georgia, and we want to keep it that way. And, I know that we have our criticisms of Marjorie, and you can love her or hate her. And I always tell people the same thing. The battlefield is in the legislature, and her voting record was rather impeccable. And, we would have liked to have seen more things that we could have tried to get passed and bills to the floor. But we're going to have to not only have somebody that's going to take the reins up, and because she was working on some really good things when she left, but we're going to have somebody who's going to stand up to the Washington, machine and continue to chip away and try to bring America First to the table, try to help Trump with his agenda, because I do believe that and Trump is trying to strengthen the America First. And I know there's a lot going on, but this is pretty much it, Antonio. If we lose this next midterms and the Democrats take it back over, then all of our work is just going to be, I won't say for nothing, but I don't think we're going to get this kind of power back for a long time.
Right. But are we just being kind of patted on the head and kind of shaking around to have these, not really fights within the party, because I think it always should be meaningful objectivity, but it's like we're quote unquote in charge in the state of Georgia. We've gotten any election integrity passed or anything like that. We got a great guest that's coming on later that was one of the electors that got jammed up in the Trump indictment case. We've got tons and tons of information and evidence of the election being stolen, but here we are with a Republican legislature here in the state of Georgia, and it's like nothing's been done. So how do we this is a question I got. How do we motivate people moving forward, Roy, and to get people involved and engaged?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it almost seems like that the Republican establishment wants the party to fail. They want the Democrats to take control because of some of the moves they're doing. You know, some of the things that like Brian Kemp is backing his own candidates outside of everything. I mean, we obviously know he's in his own coalition. And then you got the Republican Party who is pretty weak right now, and they're not doing anything. And then you've got these things like jungle primaries. I'm not going to say that anybody can't run in this. You know, I like seeing new people stand up, but again, what are we doing if we're all we're going to do is just hand the power back to some establishment control that keeps the ball rolling down the hill? And you bring up election integrity, right? I mean, we finished out 2025 with 0 arrests. We've uncovered even more election fraud issues, and nothing's being done. So it's like, at the end of the day, are we trying to get a victory, or are we trying to just give it away so that we can get more money under fire? I don't understand it.
You ask a great question there, and that question goes all the way up to the federal government. We indicted Nicolas Maduro. And it's like nothing on the indictment that says anything about election integrity. You know, what do we do with that? You know,
I don't know. I mean, I hate to be harsh, right? You know, and here's a problem with like Donald Trump and things like, and I think a lot of this stems from just our human psyche. But you know, somebody can do something right 9 times in a row, but then if they do something wrong the 10th time, we're ready to crucify them. And I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can't be critical on things or question things, and all of a sudden you become lumped in some category where you're anti-Trump or all this. I mean, look, we've got issues, and I know the man's got a lot of things coming at him all the time. So ultimately, we're on this side here. But yeah, well, where are the election integrity issues? Why all of these stories that we get fed to us constantly? You know, that Ryan Fournier that I see he's always dropping a bombshell post about so-and-so's being referred to like scam Bondi, or so-and-so is, you know, now that the big talk is the Clintons, you know, they didn't show up for the Epstein hearing. And it's like all of this is a nothing burger until we see an actual prosecution and arrest. So I pretty much wash my hands of it until I see it, right? Until I see some actual prosecutions, because we know the Democrats will have zero problem with prosecuting and impeaching and doing anything. They'll just move it right along, and nobody will stop it.
Yeah, it's like the good cop, bad cop. Here's a headline that I read earlier in the show, posted by General Flynn regarding the Clintons. And I quote, he said, "The Clintons are blowing off Congress, and it illustrates that they hold so much information," there's the honeypot again, "on judges, Congress, business executives, and the world leaders." And see, this is why the Epstein situation, people say, why you guys obsessed over Epstein? Because the Epstein thing is the main thing that describes all the other tentacles of the honeypots and stuff that's going around globally. And this is why we can't get nothing done. Here's another one, Roy. Pam Bondi's DOJ has no plans to arrest Anthony Fauci, even after receiving criminal referrals from Rand Paul. This was Rand Paul on Joe Rogan talking about this. Senator Rand Paul says he has damning evidence from RFK on Anthony Fauci, which he has repeatedly sent to Trump's attorney general. But the Trump DOJ is ignoring it and refused to investigate Fauci. Why is Fauci being protected? Hey, but remember from the beginning, I got crucified on Facebook. Remember stuff I was said about Bundy early on? Trust the plan and all of that. I don't think it's our responsibility to trust the plan. And I'm not saying Trump's not a bad guy, but he has an administration full of 4 million people. He can't watch everybody. It's our responsibility to watch him. And then Bongino comes out. He's going to go after every podcaster, and he's going to get it done after he quit the FBI. I mean, it's a total clown show to come after people like me and you. You know, and I get it. Some people go way off the edge and the rails on what they do, but we're not unreasonable people that are saying, hey, you said you were going to do this. Why isn't it done? Blocked, you know. I guess, did you get your block badge from Bongino yet?
No,
Roy?
I'm still not that active on Twitter as far as I just unfollowed Dan Bongino. And again, I don't know. These people are like, why are you so? I'm not. I don't. Dan Bongino was up there to do a job, and he was there for a year. And then if you look at the track record of what he did, and now he's coming back and attacking everybody, he's just irrelevant to me. Okay, I watched Dan Bongino for years. Tell me to not quit, to never stop asking questions, to put the heat on, and now he's telling me that I'm an enemy of the state if I do that. I don't get it. Everybody has the freedom to listen. Listen to Dan Bongino or don't, right? I'm not going to listen to Dan Bongino. I'm going to let Dan Bongino be him. And folks, if you listen to him and you agree with it, that's your freedom. But to me, it's irrelevant as we move forward because it's just another, what I would say is a really bad idea that however they're running with him right now, it's just a bad idea. It's going to backfire on him bad.
Yeah, it's going to backfire. All right, so Roy, let me ask you, who you got coming up next on Small Town Underground in closing? Let the people know who you got coming up next and how to follow your page and everything. You guys do great work over there. Shout out to the Small Town Underground posse or whatever we want to call them. They just do a fantastic job over there.
Well, thank you, man, and it's good to have you back on the airwaves. I actually didn't have a show planned tonight. I was going to be going down to Cherokee County, and I was going to participate in their GOP meeting, but I'm not able to get down there tonight. And I may still go ahead and just do a show and just highlight some stuff that we're looking at District 14. But Blake Ellsbury, he's running for state senate. We're going to have a show with him Saturday. We got our first debate coming up in District 14 in Rome, Georgia. I hope everybody signs up and comes to that. It's the first time we're going to see these candidates on the stage. And we've got a lot of good guests lined up, and so just stay tuned for that.
Well, fantastic, Roy. Hey, it's always a pleasure, man. I don't know. I might come and crash the Small Town show tonight. Just depends. After I get out of church, and we might just turn up or whatever. See what you got going on.
Not a bad idea. Maybe we can link that up later because, like I said, I'd love it.
All right. Well, appreciate you hanging out, man.
Okay. Thank you, bud.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. That's Roy Hambrick. Make sure you guys follow Small Town Underground. They do a great job over there. All right. So we're going to try and get our next guest teed up here. I'm kind of doing a whole bunch at one time, as always. So let me do this. This is what happens when you, I guess, hadn't got a producer yet. Maybe I won't ever get one. Guess it doesn't matter. All right, guys, make sure you guys share the broadcast. And let me see, am I able to get her in here? All right, y'all give me just a second to get these screens lined up here so we can get Miss Holly Terei on. I know she's got some good things to come on here and talk about. I think your screen is vertical. I know you got it turned sideways. I see you, Holly. All right, so next we got coming up, we got Miss Holly Terei. She's has been doing a fantastic, phenomenal job with the school board situation. She's got dialed in, a huge advocate for school choice, and right now she's doing Citizens Defending Freedom. So I wanted to have her come back on, give people an update, just get her thoughts and, what she thinks are the priorities this year for the legislative session and all. All right, so Holly, now you can see we got you sideways. I know you couldn't see it in the preview. And okay, so while she's getting things set up, your phone may be set up to be stuck in that mode, and you might have to turn it off so the screen will go sideways. All right, guys, so while she's getting that together, let me let y'all know. All right, so guys, we let's go back over this again. This illegal invasion that we have in the country is about one thing. It's about displacing the American citizens here, the people that built the country, that are responsible for every single community that we have. And what's happened is, over time, it's just, why, like corporations and stuff. And I have nothing against corporations and people that make money and all of that, because we need to make money to survive. But greed is something that you can't satisfy. it just continues to move on and on and on and on. And before you know it, they just want more and more. Now we got a country full of illegals. They're killing our citizens. They're taking our jobs. They're making the wages and everything like that go down. And this is a problem that's a huge issue for everybody. You may just have to do it vertical, Holly, but I wanted to get, there we go. I want to get Miss Holly Terei in here. So there was a report that we saw in the news about some IEPs or something. Can you tell us what happened with that, Holly, if you can?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Am I in the frame here? I think I'm cut off.
Keep going. A little bit more the other way. Yep.
There we go.
Yeah,
I might be able to. All right.
And we got about 2.5 minutes before the break, but go ahead.
All right. Yeah, no, it looks like in the Gwinnett County Public School System, there was a parent who has their child attending a school in the North Gwinnett cluster, I believe, and they were there on an IEP, and the parent discovered that despite the child having consistent evidence showing that they were excelling, the IEP was meeting those specific needs of that child, that in this particular classroom with these, in this particular setting at this school, and maybe even these particular teachers, he was regressing significantly. And come to find out that his IEP was not being met. And for a lot of your viewers, they may not understand that an individualized education plan is a federal document. It is something established by the federal government, and it is like a contract between the school system, the parent, and the student. And it is firm in IDEA and those children's rights, not only to obtaining a free and appropriate education.
Hold on for a second. We're getting ready to come up on a break. Guys, we're going to have more with Holly Terei right after this. Greetings, Georgia Patriots. We are pleased to announce that we have a brand new website just for you. On our website, which you can get to at warroomga.com, has several different links, so let's go through a few of them. One of the most important ones is the news link. So you can find news that's local to the state of Georgia, and you can find national news. But the great thing about our state news is you can find information by some of the great Substack writers all on one page. And it's all in sequential order, so whomever has written the last or the latest article, you'll see it right there in order. As far as the national news, we aggregated quite a few Patriot national news organizations so that you can find that information right there on one page. So say if you're having your coffee for the morning and you just want to click and see what's going on and find out what the buzz is and what you want to share for the day and or read, it's all right there on one page. So we're trying to make this thing as convenient as we can so that we can get the information out. Another great link on the website is our videos link. If we're broadcasting live, of course you can catch us on all the major social media platforms. That's X, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And now you can just come to War Room GA and click on live broadcast, or you can click on our video section and you can see any of the previous lives that we've done. Or if we're currently live, you'll see us live right there on the website. Here's another one. We have a events tab. You can get your event hosted and published and posted on our website. And if it's a paid event, we definitely can beat the prices of Eventbrite and give you a similar professional experience and service for your patrons, which will save them money as well as you. Don't forget to support our show. We have a contribution link. We will also be opening up a store link where you can buy things and support the show that way. We appreciate any support that we can get. This is crowdsourced and crowdfunded, and this is for all of us. This is for you, the patriots of Georgia, and the people in this great nation of the United States of America.
taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
All right, guys, it is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Live inside of War Room Georgia. All right, so let me get Holly back in here. Before the break, I had asked her a question. I saw an article come out from, I guess, a local Fox, and what they were talking about was some issues with what's called an IEP in education. So that's a individualized education program for the special needs students. So before the break, she was kind of going through explaining to us some of the issues and what had been found. So I want you to go back through that so people can understand what is happening.
Yeah, so it looks like with this particular student, they had an IEP, as you stated, and that document ensures that child is able to access a free and appropriate education with the additional extension of IDEA, which then provides additional provisions and essentially federal law that the school district must be mandated to follow in order to ensure that their child, that student, and that parent's child is able to excel and exceed based off of their own individual education needs. So you have children of varying degrees of need, and some are more profoundly impacted by a particular disability, or maybe they really struggle with something more specific like dyslexia. An IEP ensures that they are able to access that quality education that they too are entitled to. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes, and quite frankly, probably far more often than we even realize, just the way that the school systems are structured and the lack of really collecting evidence and reporting on how often these situations happen. But here in Gwinnett, in the northern cluster of the county, there was a child who has an IEP, and that IEP, based off of substantial evidence gathered by that parent, was not being met, and were able to take the school district and the school to court, and it was proven to be true. And it's very unfortunate, but I think this is something that is important and should be highlighted, not just here in Gwinnett, but across the state, because as you know, and I've shared before, as a special needs mom myself, having two children that utilize an IEP themselves, I understand the level of complexity and time and dedication that it takes to go into establishing that document, keeping it up to date, and ensuring that your children are getting what they need, but also how cumbersome it can be, how defeating it can be, how, if you don't know your rights, how you can be taken advantage of, and ultimately your child. And I think this is a great time overall to kind of maybe address some of these issues that's impacting the disabled community, and those that are raising those children, and see what we can do in the legislature to further ensure protections of these students, help with the transition from minor to adulthood. Georgia is really failing in a lot of areas when it comes to children like my own. And so I'm glad that you brought it up. I'm glad that we're having this conversation. This is not a thing that just happens very rarely. Unfortunately, this is a common occurrence. And oftentimes a lot of parents don't even pursue the same type of action that this parent did, because they already feel defeated before even beginning.
Right. So that was perfect, because maybe this segues into, because we want to have you back on today to ask you, why is it important to fight for school choice? I guess that may kind of tie into that. So I wanted to ask you those two questions in the 5 minutes we have left. Why do we need school choice? I know you're a huge advocate for that. And secondly, give us maybe the main goal this year for session and how that would work together.
Oh, goodness. Well, education freedom is just that, allowing every child to be able to access a quality education that is most conducive to their learning needs. And that can be a child that maybe has some particular needs that they cannot obtain within the public school system that they are zoned for. Maybe they're zoned for a failing school system. Maybe they live in the best district in the state, but that one particular school is failing that child. Therefore, it's a failing school for that child. Whatever the case may be, when we invest in students first, that is a return on that investment as Georgians and as taxpayers that never comes back void. As an advocate for this, and also an advocate for the rights of the private sector, I know that school choice can be done well. We have a great opportunity here in Georgia to expand to true universal school choice, where every child is able to access what they need, which, and I am an advocate of redirecting local state dollars that follow a child typically into the public school system, but would remain in the school system should they be pulled out for any reason. They're paying for private school, or they are doing homeschool or whatever. If the parent decides that they're going to withdraw that child, then no matter the reason, those state dollars are going to follow that child to whatever additional location that they would like to obtain. However, circling back a bit to special education and those with IEPs, we have more of a unique challenge here, and this isn't specific to Georgia. We see this across the nation. But here in Georgia, we have something called the Special Needs Scholarship, and students are able to obtain a percentage of how much it costs to meet the needs of that IEP. And for some students, it can be a pretty substantial amount depending on the complexities and the depth of that IEP. Those students can then take those funds and redirect them to a private school setting. The problem with that is, however, is that typically those particular settings are only able to meet a certain demographic within an already specific demographic. And it's completely understandable. Some of these children have more profound needs, but they're not getting met in the public school system. But unfortunately, even though like a dangling carrot in front of them, they have this profound opportunity to take the special needs scholarship elsewhere. There's no other school in the private sector that is has the capacity to be able to take in those types of students, very much like my own. And so I think I would love to start seeing here in Georgia a conversation being had on how we can incentivize the private sector to create more educational opportunities for children who are more profoundly impacted by their disabilities, who have more unique special needs. The Gwinnett Special Needs School does a fantastic job, but they can only take in so many students.
Give us your social media so people know how to follow you to get more information.
Yes, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, first and last name. Also, you can check me out with Citizens Defending Freedom, citizensdefendingfreedom.com. Check out our Georgia page, our resources, and our team. All right,
guys, we got Cathy Laytham coming up next.
As a nurse practitioner, I see it all the time. Our food is what is making us sick. Hi, I'm Emily Faulkner, the founder of the Farmstead Forum. I started this conference as a way to help connect people back to their food source. On November 7th and 8th in Carrollton, Georgia, we are having our second annual homesteading conference. Whether you are new homesteading or you're experienced, you're going to find speakers, workshops, demos. There's something for everyone here at this conference.
Hi, I'm Janelle Anderson with the Haven Farmstead, and I am so excited to come to the Farmstead Forum this November to talk to you about family milk cows.
Hi, I'm Beth Holland of Bread for Life. Come and join me at the Farmstead Forum November 7th and 8th as I show you the difference between freshly milled grains and grocery store products.
Hi, I'm Jack Holloway. I operate a multi-generational farm in Carroll County. I also have 20 years experience in competitive gardening, growing things like this watermelon.
I'm Rachel Smith at Reclaiming Health 365. Join me at the Farmstead Forum November 7th and 8th to learn about the top 10 things to start your home pharmacy and treat your family with confidence.
Go to our website today, farmsteadforum.com, get your tickets, and I hope to see you there.
All right, guys. Thank you for sticking around. And we're moving into the freeform section, like I call it, of our show, where we have all of the guests are special. I would say our featured guests today. So this next guest, I don't have a formal bio, but I'll just tell you a couple of things, and this is some of the things we're going to get into, because we're not just going to cover the issues that she has dealt with. We're going to get into some of maybe a few more things, so some of your questions about her will be answered then. So my next guest coming up right now is one of the Georgia electors that got rolled up in the Trump indictment case down here in Fulton County, along with many others. And I wanted to bring her on to talk about several things. And without any further ado, I want to bring you guys Ms. Cathy Laytham. So Cathy, welcome to your first initiation for War Room Georgia show. I know we've been talking a lot offline, and
Yes.
so glad that you're able to come on now and speak. And I guess before your case concluded, we wasn't able to get you on for obvious reasons. So welcome to the War Room.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and
Okay,
clear.
good.
All right.
Good.
All right. So we
all had a gag order, so there was a lot of things we couldn't talk about. But that gag order is now gone, so we can talk.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but I listed you on the flyer as Coffee County Cathy. That's your new nickname, old nickname.
Yep.
All right, so
and you have my name's misspelled there. It's
it is
Latham. Yeah.
It's
But that's okay.
Lath. I can get that
Yes.
fixed.
Okay.
I need to fix that. All right, so matter of fact, let me do that now. So what you been up to today? What's going on?
Today, let's see. I've been dealing with a campaign right now. I'm working here in Texas. We're trying to get rid of rhinos, the same problem y'all have in Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, I went to a fascinating thing. I went to a lecture about the Islamification of Texas. So that was interesting. And
wow. So we're actually going to be doing some work on that. We got somebody coming on our show pretty soon here to talk about that same thing. Because it's everywhere.
it is everywhere.
It's everywhere. So very interesting that's where you were. So I got your name changed up. I'm trying to make a couple of final little edits before we get started.
And then you have my X handle. It has a Y in there too.
Yeah, the Y. So I just messed this thing all up.
It's okay. It's all right.
Hold on, won't take me
Hey,
but
at
a
least you
second.
spelled my name with a C and not a K. So
Yeah, I got something right.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. So
just take the Y out,
Yep.
put the T. There you go.
that is, so
You
we got that right. Okay, let me check
Yeah.
one more screen
Okay.
to make sure that everything is lined up properly. Kind of stickler. All right, so let's get started. I have a number of questions here for you. So let's start with this. So where did you grow up? Do you have any brothers and sisters?
Oh, yeah. I grew up here in Texas, Central Texas, right in the heart of it. I have 3 brothers and a sister, and I've written a lot about my sister because she's the one that drove me to Fulton County when I had to turn myself in. But yeah, I have 3 brothers and 1 sister, and I'm the middle child. So right smack dab in the middle of all of them. So
Yeah. So what are you currently retired? What are you doing right now? And what was your profession when you?
I was a teacher. I taught for 30 years in Georgia, and I retired from the classroom in 2021, right before everything escalated. And my retirement plan was to teach with Georgia Virtual, and I had to quit that right before the indictments came down, before I got fired, because I didn't want to risk any of my retirement. And so now I'm basically a grandma. I have 1 grandson, and he's the light of my life, and I watch him some, and then I'm also working on campaigns.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
Yep. So trying to clean up house here in Texas, getting rid of rhinos. I mean, when you have Republicans, and I know y'all have this in Georgia because I've been following it. When you have Republicans who vote like Democrats 50% of the time, you've got a problem.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why the elections are so important. All right, so Let me do this. Let's see. So you said how long you lived in Georgia. So what got you interested initially in politics? What was your initial attraction to politics?
Well, it's a funny story. I always thought I was the cause for Richard Nixon getting impeached because I wrote a bad letter to him when I was a kid. I got mad at him for always interrupting the Brady Bunch. But, that's always the way I say I got my feet wet in politics. I really got my feet wet when I was in high school and I started campaigning for Ronald Reagan. And I was even a rebel back then. I was, as I always say, I was Republican before it was cool to be Republican, and everybody else was a Democrat. So I started in high school campaigning for Ronald Reagan. Did a lot of stuff in college. And then once I started having kids, I backed off of politics. But around about 2012, I started getting back in politics in Coffee County, started, getting my feet wet, and then really jumped in about 2014 and started doing things like being a voter and judge, where you would do the adjudication and stuff, and then moved into the party. Eventually became the chairman of the Coffee County Republican Party. Then I was selected by the rural counties in Georgia to represent them as the caucus chair for the under 80,000. And that put me on the state committee. And as they say, from that on, it became history because I became an elector. And then, it just snowballed from there.
Got it.
That's how it happened.
Can you angle your camera down just a hair?
Sure.
So don't, yeah.
Yeah, let me get it down and.
Yeah, because you should be able to see the preview. Yeah, we didn't want to. That's much better. Okay, so you asked the question about how you getting involved in the election process. At any point, when did you become skeptical? Was there any point prior to 2020? Did you see things, or just wondered? What made you skeptical about the election process?
Well, Coffee County was an odd county in the fact that Democrats and Republicans got along great. So when we were doing adjudications and things like that, that worked well. We all worked together. We were able to do a lot of things together. What made me skeptical was the new process that happened in 2020. I'm seeing some people I know pop in and saying, hey, Valerie. But anyway, in 2020, during the primaries, when we started having problems with the machines and the process and stuff, really became skeptical. I knew something was wrong when Brad Raffensperger failed to help Coffee County fix the machines and get everything ready for the presidential election. I had already asked him, I begged him, I had begged Gabe, Raffensperger, all of them to help us. They said they were going to help us, and then they ended up not helping us. And that's what happened there. Just
got it.
Just a messed up process.
Okay, so I was going to ask, so you actually went to Raffensperger himself and Gabe. How did they did they just not respond at all? I mean, what?
Oh no, they assured me they were going to take care of us. They promised me. They I had text messages from him that they were going to handle it. He put Gabe I was on a Zoom call with other Republican chairs, and I basically on that Zoom call, and I know it's they have a recording of it because it came from the Secretary of State's office. I'm sure it's somewhere still there in their archives, but they promised that they would help us and get us a new machine. During the primary of 2020, we had to send a police officer to a neighboring county to get us a new scanner because we couldn't finish the primary.
Okay, so but let's pause there. So what was actually happening with the machine that you think, oh, we need to get a new machine in here? What was going on?
It was the rejection of the QR code. It kept rejecting QR codes, left and right. At the time, I did not realize it was just Republican ballots. That happens later. But it was just this constant rejection of QR code. And it got to the point where the election supervisor was just she was scanning just like 5 and 10 ballots at a time, which takes forever to finish an election. And finally, the decision was made during the primary to stop counting. And we sent a police officer with lights and a siren, and he went over to Cook County, grabbed an extra scanner that they had, brought it back, and with the 2 scanners, the next day, the election supervisor was able to finish the primary.
Got it.
So,
what were you thinking after you tried, gave it a college try to get the Secretary of State, to get Gabe and them involved? Did any other thoughts enter your mind after they would not, or you couldn't get any real good response out of them?
I thought it was incompetence, basic incompetence, especially since I did follow-up emails, et cetera, made phone calls. But when I walked into that office right before the election, the November election, and said, did we get a new scanner? And the chairman of the Board of Elections and the supervisor said, oh, this is what they told us. We would have to pay $25,000 for a new machine. And I mean, the machine had just been used starting in June. It's not like these were brand new machines. There should have been a warranty. There should have been some kind of coverage, whatever. And they just basically brushed us off. They didn't think we were important. We were just this rural coffee county, and they ignored us.
All right. So you were indicted.
Yes.
Along with some other great people, U.S. Attorney Jeff Clark, who we've had on our show, President Trump. Where were you when you found out that you had been indicted, and what was your just initial reaction? What was going through your mind at that moment?
I found out about 30 minutes before the indictments came down that I was indicted. I had a friend who had a friend in the office, and basically that friend leaked to her my name and said she's on the indictment list. And I got a text message and said, sorry, hon, you're on the list. So I knew about 30 minutes before that I was being indicted. And so I didn't say anything. I said something to my husband. I let him know it was coming, but I didn't call family members or anything. But when that news conference hit, and I was sitting here in Texas, I was in Texas when this happened, and my phone lit up, but I answered family only. I said, yes, I know I've been indicted, so, but we knew it was coming. There were the prayers that it wasn't going to happen, but it happened.
What was it, because of things that you heard on the media, or you just thought that it was just going to be some type of a force coming back in opposition, and you just knew something was coming? Or did you just kind of formally know, or just hear it kind of percolating through the news media that there were going to be some indictments behind it?
Well, we knew it. I mean, our lawyers had been telling us that it was happening. We knew it was going to happen. I followed the special purpose grand jury. I saw their recommendations. Then we had the closing of the regular grand jury. And when there was that rush that she had to finish him by, was it August 11th or something that they had to happen? I mean, it was a rush deal, but I just could not understand why they wanted to indict me. I didn't know. I mean, I knew I had done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, all those videos, the videos that, and the pictures that were done showing me welcoming people and stuff. If anybody sat down and watched the entire video, they would see I did nothing. I was sitting there on my phone. I was, and wasn't paying any attention to what was going on. I was in and out. I think the GBI report even said how many times I've been in and out of the room. When they started whatever that was going on in the room, I was already gone. I'd gone back to work. I mean, I couldn't understand why, as an elector, what we did was wrong.
That's what I was going to ask. Why was that? How was that explained to you that this is wrong? You deserve to be indicted.
Well, it started with the media, started calling us fake electors, fake, fake, fake. It was all about spinning this entire thing that we were fake. And then it started in that we were trying to overthrow a legal election. And that's not what we were doing at all. Trump had cases in Georgia. And what the viewers need to know is if we had not signed those ballots, if we had not signed those provisional electoral ballots, and Trump had won his case, Georgia would have lost every electoral vote in the college. Georgia's votes would not have counted. And then that would have been unfair because that would have been disenfranchisement of every Georgia voter. So we were told by lawyers what we were doing was contingent on the cases.
And they still,
so we knew.
And they still rose you up, just making an example. So I'm thinking about Tina Peters as I'm listening to you, because I think about how the media, how you just described, how all this stuff mounted against you then. And all of a sudden, those horrible electors who tried to overturn an election when you just laid out to say, hey, this is just contingent upon the cases. And they still indicted you guys. And look at Tina Peters' situation. She did her job as election clerk or something like that.
Yeah.
And now
she was an election supervisor.
Yeah. She's sitting in prison for actually doing her job. But Cathy, and I noticed this is, I opened the show today with talking about the highest value for the corrupt actors. We're far long past Democrat and Republican politics. This is a globalist and evil regimes against freedom, and people that are trying to defend their countries for the next generation. And sitting at that is taxes and slave labor, illegal aliens, whatever you want to call it. And if they are not able to cheat, they are not able to steal. And that's why the election process is so important. And they took the opportunity, I believe, with Tina Peters to make an example out of her. This is what happens to you. We don't care if your son went to the military and died for this country. We'll come to your house, kick your door in, look through all of his memories and everything like that. We don't care how that feels. We just need to make an example out of you. So let me ask you this. How has this process impacted, the siblings around you, maybe like your kids or anything? Have they expressed any kind of, what were they thinking, because seeing your picture flying across the media and things like that, what were they saying?
Well, my daughter was, I have an older daughter, and she's a liberal, but she loves her mama, and she knows my integrity. She knows that I would never do anything wrong. And, but she became my biggest defender. When I started getting discovery, she's the one who plowed through it. She's the one that went through it letter by letter. She knows this case inside and out. I mean, she knows everything. I had to kind of instruct her on who were good Republicans versus bad Republicans. I mean, she didn't even know what the term rhino meant when all of this happened. But she became my biggest defender. My son, who has the faith that moves mountains, he was never worried. He said, God has this, God has you, it's going to go through. My siblings, I have an older brother who hates politics, and he's like, I told you not to get involved in politics, and but that kind of thing.
I need to talk to that guy. But go ahead.
Yeah, but my nieces and nephews were the ones, they were the ones that were like, Aunt Cathy is being indicted. She doesn't even speed in her car. How can she be indicted? And I mean, my nieces and nephews are, older, so, and they have kids now. So they were just blown away that this had happened to me because, I've lived a life of integrity. I've lived a life. I was a teacher. I mean, Georgia has some of the highest standards of ethics that teachers have to go by. And I even wrote about this. Every single year, I had to sign an oath that I would obey the Constitution of the United States and the state of Georgia. I took that seriously every year I signed that contract. And I was not going to break the law, and.
So wait, teachers have to sign that too?
Yeah, it's on the bottom of the contract. Yeah. So
interesting.
There's an oath clause on a teacher's contract in Georgia. At least there was the last time I signed one. So
me and Roy need to do some research into that to see if that's still there, or how it was removed if not, because that's very interesting. So okay. So what are some of the other things that impacted you, that you were impacted by with this indictment swirling around? I mean, you had mentioned that I guess you had left your job early, that way you couldn't be, fired or just like what other things have went on? Because we hear about people getting their like bank account canceled and things of that.
Basically, my entire career was canceled. Prior to the indictment, I was hired to co-write and co-edit 2 economic textbooks. Praise the Lord, I finished that before the indictments came down, and it went to the printer before that, or I'm sure they probably would have erased my name off the front cover. But I worked on two economic textbooks. But my career was to be, when I went through retirement, I had been working on curriculum, test designing, etc. And I was working across multiple state lines. I was writing tests. I even wrote at one point the study guide for the new graduation test. What do you call it when you don't graduate? What's the name of the test? If your viewers don't know, I've had a stroke and sometimes I struggle to grasp the word. What's that test you take if you don't graduate high school and it gives you a diploma?
Oh, the GED?
Yes, GED. Thank you. I even wrote the study guide when the new GED came out. I worked across all kinds of state lines writing curriculum. All of that dried up immediately when I was indicted. No more jobs. My TSA pre-check was pulled 2 weeks after we were indicted. So I couldn't even fly with my pre-check anymore. Any type of job I applied for that had a criminal background check, I got denied employment because the RICO charge came up. So I couldn't work anywhere. So every job I've had to do has been a job that I'm paid basically under the table. I do claim it on my taxes. I am one of those people that claims stuff on my taxes, but people pay me under the table. And I've done everything. I've cleaned toilets. I've done laundry. I deliver things. It has financially ruined me and my husband. It took away our plans. I lost friends. There are people in Georgia that won't even talk to me anymore. I mean, people that I thought were my friends. But like people have told me, you find out quickly who are your friends.
Yeah.
You find out quickly.
So how does that make you feel though? I mean, having somebody that you...
If you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I could have given you a entire, litany and probably cried my eyes out, etc. Right now, God has been so good to me. He has seen me through this. He has replaced my friends, just like in Job. What he takes away, he gives back. So I'm waiting for the money to come back. But he's given me some great friends. We have we're members of a great church here. I'm living in a small town where nobody even knows who I am. So, I mean, even my neighbors don't even know who I am. They don't know that I have this whole history. I don't even think they've sat there and Googled my name or anything, even though I do now have a Wikipedia page. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy to have a Wikipedia page. Sometimes I get angry. There's still some anger there. My stroke was totally stress related. I went through all the tests. My heart's fine. My cholesterol's fine. My stroke basically was stress related. And so the doctors were like, you got to get rid of the stress in your life. I said, I'm working on it. But I mean, the pardon was amazing. But to get that phone call from my lawyer the day before Thanksgiving to tell me that all charges were dropped, believe me, a weight fell off my shoulders that day. It was amazing.
Well, I'll tell you, Cathy, I was never interested in politics. I just wasn't. And during the 2020 election was the first time I voted for Trump, voted Republican, and I just knew my vote was stolen. So every single hearing, because I was so mad. I watched every single hearing. I mean, Pennsylvania, wherever they had them at. I mean, all 8 hours or however long they would be on. And that's where I found out more about Rudy Giuliani. But I saw people like yourself give testimony that day downtown in Georgia. And, you know, it was your efforts and people like yourself who stood up back then and who have had to endure that actually has helped activate people like me, you know, and keep me motivated. You know, and I'm thinking maybe I'm not close as I should be to the fire, you know. So I salute you. Hats off to you, your husband, and everything like that at what you've gone through to actually just be here. Like you said, you know, God will return it back to you. He will, and he will honor you actually standing up for truth and doing what's right, and most of all, making a sacrifice. He always uses it for something greater.
Well, was it yesterday that the New York Times article came out about somebody got their hands on all the testimonies from the grand jury and, you know, was telling about a lot of the Georgian politicians who fabricated their testimony in the grand jury. That's the only thing I can say. To me, because I read some of those stories, and I haven't read all of the grand jury testimonies, but I'm planning on sitting down and reading them. They may become part of my book, which is what I want to do. But the people who testified in the special purpose grand jury and the grand jury, especially the Georgia leaders, they need to do some serious reckoning and apologies, and they need to repent, because pure lies were told in that grand jury. Pure lies. People took immunity deals to save their tail in, and
so
it's been horrible.
So what should happen to Fani Willis? Well, let me ask you this question first. Okay. So Senator Colton Moore, who's now running for Marjorie's seat up in District 14, is one of the ones who actually stood up and tried to get Brian Kemp to remember the special sessions and all that. That's why I even knew who Colton Moore was. It was hey, there's some guy down at the legislature in Georgia, on top of the stuff that's going on with the election, that's fighting to try to get the governor to do a special session to at least investigate Fani Willis, because if they had the amount of votes to do whatever to her, that's irrelevant. The Republicans are in charge, and they should be doing their duty and obligation, especially during times where the public overall would consider that an emergency. But he couldn't get it done. You know what the result was? They all had a meeting and kicked the guy out of the caucus. You remember all that? And then he gets arrested last January. You know, we were down there for the whole thing, and get thrown in Fani Willis jail. I mean, I don't think Georgia can fix itself at this point. I don't. And as a result, you know, we got people like yourself getting jammed up, and Fani Willis going into these court hearings with all this hubris and stuff. It just kind of, she has to know something that the public don't know, because there's no way on God's green earth that I would have done the things that Fani Willis has done just across the board, and walk in a courtroom with that hubris. She knows something that we don't know, Cathy, and I don't know what that is, but something stinks in Georgia.
Something stinks. A lot of people have been paid off, and people get power hungry and money hungry. And that's basically what you're seeing there is, you know, somebody who's high on the hog there, just with their money. I mean, Oh, one of my former lawyers was sitting right there when she walked in the room, and he shot a picture of her walking in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the way she walked into court," or the legislator and stuff. I couldn't believe that she was wearing what she was wearing and carrying
Oh
what she
yeah,
was carrying.
and she
I
gonna
know.
sit there, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. She would dare the Republicans to ever do something to her because
She knows they're not going to do anything.
she know where the bodies are buried,
Yeah.
figuratively, in the imperial capital of Georgia. That's why nothing is going to happen to Fani Willis. You know, I mean, we got the governor. He's supposed to be the senior law enforcement officer in the state to make sure that the laws are faithfully executed. You know, the chief magistrate in the state of Georgia don't want to do anything about the election. Got pretty much a rogue DA and Fani Willis, people dying in the jail, and nothing's getting done.
I know.
But we get to have people like yourself indicted and rolled up in a garbage case like this, Cathy.
Yeah.
And then Colton Moore gets to be kicked out of the caucus for wanting a special session to investigate Fani Willis. And then all the Republicans running around here having a good time trying to get their campaign talking points together. And because the days of patting us on the head and treating us like we're stupid is over with. I'm just not going to vote for somebody because unless they are delivering what they're supposed to be delivering. Because what would make it any different, between the Democrat, if you're going to vote for a guy that ain't going to do what you want him to do. And I'm not saying go out here and vote for liberals.
Right.
But we should require something for our vote, Cathy.
That's right. Well, you need to read that article by the New York Times. I mean, read what Chris Carr said. They quoted him of what he said about Trump in the grand jury. I mean, if the voters knew about that, his chances for being governor of any Republican or any MAGA person voting for him just went down the tube. The only people that should vote for him now should be Democrats because that's the only one who wants him. There's just so much going on in that state. But I mean, it's everywhere. It's even here in Texas. People get beholden to their lobbyists and the powers that be. And somehow we got to break the chain. We got to, and people shouldn't be able to hold office 30, 40 years. This shouldn't be their career. This should be a stopover point for them to, be in office for a couple of terms and then go home and let somebody else do it. But they're getting rich off of it. And that's why they hate Trump. That's why Republicans hate Trump. And because he's messing with their money, he's messing with their power. And, they're in Georgia. I mean, I don't know what power Kemp has. What is he holding over everybody? Why are they so scared of him?
Well, I think that part of the deal may have been, and it's just my opinion, when they did SB 221, which was the law that allowed the leadership positions to raise money in and out of session, unlimited amount of money from wherever. And then the legislators, they rolled in and voted to create the sugar daddy, right? And then have the nerve to pretend like this power and authority over them, that there's, some battered woman getting beat up by somebody every week. Well, look, you put the guy, you voted for SB 221. Oh, you can't say this because now it's about how much money can you raise or whatever. Well, you can't compete against the governor, the speaker, and the lieutenant governor. They keep setting the table and they got all these floor leaders. What in the world is a floor leader, on the House? That's control from a governor's floor leader. So that just shows us the manipulation that's going on here. And here's something that Tom Renz put on X, and I read it a couple times earlier in the show. He said that, and this was from Data Republican on X. They said the dirty truth about Lindsey Graham, Mike Johnson, and the rest of the GOP, they don't want you to know, is the real reason they refuse to pass election reform is that they commit the same fraud as the Democrats. Certainly not all Republicans, but more than enough to do exactly what you said, to block any real MAGA measures. This is about the power, stealing our tax money, using it to advance the corporations, and to continue this forced migrations to push Americans out of the position of being free.
That's right. But I'm seeing it across state lines. Your established Republicans, your establishment, your country club Republicans, your rhinos, they hate the grassroots. They hate the grassroots because they're afraid of people actually thinking for themselves. And I mean, I know you had somebody on with education earlier, but that's been the whole deal, is teach our kids not to think and just tell them the way to vote. And you've had this now long enough that people they just go along to get along, and nobody's really willing to get out there and fight. And when you have strong grassroots, you see the rhinos in the establishment and those country club Republicans do everything they can to shut down the grassroots. I've seen it in Georgia. I think their last convention was pretty clear that they went against the grassroots.
It was bad.
I wasn't there. I was
there.
I've only seen the clips, but I heard all about it. And I've been to enough meetings and stuff here because I'm going with candidates and helping them, and they're fighting the same thing. They're fighting against the machine. And I don't mean the voting machine. I mean the political machine.
The machine that wants the machines.
Yes, the machine that wants the machines, because they are doing the selection. We think we're electing, they're doing the selection. So
I had a question that came in for you, and this gentleman by the name of J.J. Lewis, he said he wanted to know, what are the things you learned after all, that needs to be changed? It's just a general question from him.
Well, the first thing that needs to be changed is those dang machines need to go in every state. Any kind of device that can be manipulated. We just need to go back to paper ballots, hand count, hand marked paper ballots, every state. I don't know what the problem is. It's a simple thing. It's cheap, and you wouldn't have all these huge budgets needed to run an election if you had paper ballots.
Well, that might be part of the problem. It might be too cheap, because everything that government creates, they create a whole economy around it to keep siphoning our tax dollars out of it. It all goes
school systems, city government, all the way down from the lowest level of the government to your federal government. Every government is going to do what it has to do to keep its power. That's school systems, that's school boards, that's everywhere. So you want to get it back to basics. You got to get it back to full transparency, paper ballots, hand marked and hand count. That would be the first thing. The second thing is get rid of those poll pads and clean up the voter rolls.
Got it.
I
got a couple. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I got a couple of comments. We've got probably about 12 minutes left, and we'll continue our conversation. But as comments come in, and guys, if you're watching, if you make a comment on the video, we can pop that up. It could be a question or maybe something you want to tell Cathy, what have you. Here's one from Laura. She said, Cathy, you and yours, your precious family have been prayed over so much over the last few years. How precious is it to see your beautiful eyes again and hear God is working in your life despite the terrible things that have happened?
I know that, lady. Hey, Laura, how are you doing? I appreciate that. That you're almost going to make me cry. I have felt the prayers. I have felt them in a way that you can't believe. God has revealed himself to me in so many ways. And I really do appreciate the prayers. Life has been rough, but God has been good. He has been so good. Yes. And I appreciate that, Laura. Thank you. And I'll tell Miles you were on here. He's in there watching our grandson right now, who's the light of my life. So,
here's one, Valerie. She said, you're a wonderful mentor.
Yes, she is now the chair of Coffee County, and she she will sometimes message me a little bit, ask me questions and stuff. So she's a sweetheart. She was also a teacher for my son. So, and I taught her daughter. So we have a kind of a thing going on here. Yeah.
All right. So Valerie, you have a open invitation to be on War Room anytime, and anybody else, because this, and let me do this, I guess, plug for the show. This show is about, I'm not the expert. I got into this thing and I just kind of saw a need. I'm more of an analyst than anything, a journalist. I'm trying to get a little bit better at it. But I bring guests on so that I can try and help amplify them to get the message out to you guys. And maybe I'm going to start doing maybe a hometown hero show or something to where we maybe can pick just anybody that want to come on maybe once a month and just kind of talk about their experience, what they're thinking about. And we can do these things at any time. That's why we have the public comments. We usually will do phone calls and things like this. But War Room Georgia is for you guys. And a shout out to Miss Karen Bowman. She always makes some type of a contribution. I always forget to, ask. And what we use those funds for is if I get a call from a county and they say they want me to come down and be at something, I use that to help with fuel. Now, where I can, I will go anyway. But with you guys supporting the show in whatever way that you can, even if it's just sharing it, everything helps. So, Valerie, thank you for filling in and picking up the mantle from Miss Cathy. And you're welcome to come on the show anytime. And I will open for suggestions, criticism, all of that. We just want to have a good broadcast where everybody can get the truth and information out here. Yep. And thank you for your comment for Miss Cathy. Let me see if I had anything else. So let's talk about the DOJ. They have been up on a lot of scrutiny, and I read this earlier. And here's something that General Flynn said. So we'll say something about the DOJ and also about the Congress, because there have been some complaints about Pam Bondi floating around. And I got lit up on Facebook when I came out and said, I don't know about Bondi. This was like about 2 months in. I got lit up. And I have to shamelessly say I was right about her. But all right, so Pam Bondi's DOJ has no plans to arrest Fauci. Rand Paul has sent in several referrals. He says RFK has directly given him all the information on why Anthony Fauci should be investigated, indicted, and prosecuted. Nothing's happening. And General Flynn also posted on X that the Clintons are blowing Congress off from showing up to their congressional hearing because they hold a lot of information on judges, business executives, world leaders, and actual members of Congress. So I know Trump's doing a great job, and it's not his job in the DOJ to actually prosecute crime, but I don't think the DOJ is doing enough. We haven't seen any high-level arrest. Look, they arrested Steve Bannon quickly, Peter Navarro, FBI kicked Jeff Clark Dorian or whatever they did, and on and on.
Hey,
and
the
on
FBI showed up at my house. So I mean, yeah, we've all been, all of this stuff. But yeah, they need to really go after these people. I'm ready to see some mugshots from them. I'm ready to see handcuffs, etc.
Do you think that this would, if the Trump DOJ, and I know he doesn't directly control it, but if the DOJ in his administration would go after and investigate and prosecute high-level criminals, like we know people that exacerbated the border and all of this stuff, would this not be a winning message on its own for the midterms? Could he kind of like kick back and let the process be the promotion for this next midterm election?
Yes. I mean, people like me and other people that have been watching, they're frustrated at the fact that nothing is happening. These people tried to overthrow our country. They're guilty of treason, and nothing's happening to them. And the problem is if the Republicans lose the midterm, Trump is a dead duck in the water. And I mean that by, he won't be able to pass anything. And all they're going to do is try to impeach him. So we've got to get something going. And these people, I mean, there are people like there are lawyers involved, like Norm Eisen and
Elias and that
like
crowd.
That. Yeah, Mark Elias, all of them. They basically constructed an overthrow of our government. And then the opening of the border and bringing in what we think is minimally 20 million illegals.
Mayorkas, yeah.
Yeah, Mayorkas. I mean, all of this needs to be taken care of.
Should be a slam dunk.
It should be a slam dunk. But here they get Letitia James and who's the other guy
Comey.
they put in Comey, and then it gets dismissed.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
Yep.
And then it's time to actually go after some of these judges. I mean, I'm sorry, if you release somebody and they go out and start killing again, I think the judge should be held accountable.
I think they should too. Is this not where Congress and the judiciary has some type of authority to haul the judge in? You know, we got to see more.
They can impeach a judge.
Yeah,
I mean, Congress has the power.
So there's no excuse, even like in the state of Georgia, when the judge do something. I mean, what are these guys doing, Cathy? I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's like, what's the whole point? And then they want people to get up, go poll watch, put themselves in positions like you do to actually get indicted to protect an election for them when they won't even do their jobs. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I know. And I'm ready to see people being held accountable. I mean, we need to have accountability. Just like with kids. I mean, I taught high school. And if you're not fair and accountable to these kids, you can't conduct class because you have a disruption in the class if you're not managing and doing what you're supposed to do. Same thing here at this level. Let's take these bad guys, these bad actors, and take care of them, take them out. And they need to there needs to be a perp walk, there needs to be a mugshot, and we need to see handcuffs. These people tried to overthrow the government. And I was told that the process we went through, that was the punishment. They wanted to make it so bad to us that nobody would want to do it again.
Yep.
And that means don't poll watch, don't do this, don't, you know. And I'm like, but this is part of being a citizen, is getting involved in the process.
So let me ask you this question, and then we'll wrap.
Okay.
So are you now a black pillar because you got questions and you actually want action? We won't get into the Bongino thing, but what would you say, just generally speaking? You know, because it's like, if there's a question asked or somebody's pressed on something, it's like, oh, you don't like Trump now, or you're a black pillar. You need to. What is your reaction to that, Cathy?
It's not that. I don't even know what the black pill means or whatever. Does that mean
it means that everything's terrible, everything's awful?
No, I'm not a negative person that way. I mean, there's a lot of good things going on, lots of good things, but there's still so much that needs to be done before we can have a strong republic. And the left trying to take us to a democracy, and it's democratic this and democracy this and all that. We're not a democracy. We are a republic. And we're going to lose our republic if we don't get it fixed now. And we've got to get it fixed well enough so that the next term, the next administration who goes in, needs to finish the job and continue it. I want to see most of Trump's executive orders made into law so that the next person who comes in can't undo everything. I like a lot of what has gone on. So I'm not a black pill and think everything's bad. That's not. And I think Trump is doing a phenomenal job. He really is. I do believe he's getting some bad advice, and I do believe I still believe there's still some bad people in the government. They've not been able to get the deep state out.
Right.
And I'd like to see somebody with a big old water hose get rid of the deep state.
We might need to get a fire truck and come pick you up from Texas.
There you go.
So Richard Schroeder, this will be the final comment, and JJ Lewis, he said, tell Cathy I'm going to post her on social media as a true fighter and a legend.
Oh, thank you.
Richard Schroeder says, timing is everything, and the time is now. I agree with you, Richard. The clock is being run out on the president. The clock is so important, and it's been we've wasted a whole year. And that was my thing. Like, you know, I'm not going to bash Bongino, but that was my whole thing. It's like, don't waste a year of the people's time, you know, because we got to get this thing rolling, you know. And if he wanted to go back to go on back to podcasting, but my goodness, let's get somebody in there, you know, if this is not really on your heart to do it. But go ahead.
One of the biggest things in politics is running the clock. When they don't want to deal with something or whatever, they run the clock out. And so that's what they're doing right now. Both sides are doing this against MAGA. They're running the clock. And they're trying to tie Trump's hands. I mean, look at every time he does something, there is a lawsuit. And he's having to use resources to fight the lawsuit every single time. So it's time to get it going.
To your point, and we'll end on this. During a Supreme Court justice hearing, the SCOTUS Justice Amy Coney Barrett, supposed to be a conservative, just referred to men as trans girls. I mean, this is crazy town. I mean, we've got to we got to be consistent, you know. Yes. And see, some people look at that as, okay, well, it's just, you know, no. Every little bitty thing means something, and people have to understand your integrity should be kept at all times. Don't get in front of a courtroom and refer to like she just did with a trans man or trans girl. It's a man. Like just say what it is. All right. So closing thoughts, and let people know how to follow you, Miss Cathy. It's been a pleasure. I'm so glad you came on. We'll have to set up another time.
Thank you.
And I have to get you hooked up and go on Roy's show too.
Okay. Well, they can follow me on X at Cathy Laytham Tex. Yeah, so it's Cathy Laytham TX. And my Facebook, I have it basically shut down. Only family and very, very close friends. And I'm going to leave it that way just because that's the way I am. But I share everything on Twitter. I'm even writing. I write about what happened to me. I even share about classroom stories. And nothing's off limits anymore. I just kind of share. I feel like once I've had a mugshot, I'm just kind of out there now. So
hey, you only which way is up after getting a mugshot, Cathy.
Yep.
Well, look, I appreciate it. Tell your husband thanks for letting us borrow you for a little bit of time.
I sure will.
We'll have to set up another time to have you back on here, or anytime you're welcome to come on and
all right, Antonio,
talk about anything.
Good. It's good talking to you.
Okay. All right. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye, y'all.
All right, guys. Wow. What an experience. Like I said, Cathy was one of the people that I saw when I first got started, dialed into politics, and they had, what was the guy name down there? Jovan Pulitzer. It's a whole lot of people. Yeah. But she was one of the people's testimonies that I actually saw. And it was, you know, it's been an inspiration, just every little bitty thing, every person, every story that's associated with fighting freedom. And thank you guys so much for supporting the show and sharing the content and all of that. All right, so let me find the outro if I can. So, look, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. War Room. The people's voice. Keeping you informed. War Room. The people's voice.